And our Mary Alice Parks reported tonight on colleges that have canceled student debt and the positive difference that can make. Now we look at the other end of the spectrum, the nearly $2 trillion student loan crisis, and bring in Wall Street Journal reporter Josh Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, Josh.
Sure. Yes. Thanks.
I want to start with someone that you profile in your book, former Sallie Mae CEO Al Lord, who went from profiting off the skyrocketing cost of college to later claiming that he was shocked when it was time to pay for his own grandchildren's education. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Congress tried to expand access to higher education and give everyone a chance to go to college. And so they started providing student loans. And student loans did give access to college. But what it also did was it became a profit center for banks, for people like Al Lord, and for schools. And so on the one hand, a lot of students have been able to go to the college of their choice because of student loans. They also took out a lot of debt that they now can't repay, and a lot of people made money off of that.
And that also leads us to a larger point that you make in your book, that it's now often parents and grandparents who are taking on the student debt.
Yes, I think that's the new shift right now. Half of people with student debt are over 35. 1 in 5 are over age 50. And so that share is only going to grow, because right now what's happening is college students are hitting the limit on how much they could borrow, and parents are having to pick up the slack. And so what we're seeing right now is it used to be where parents would actually pass wealth down to their children. But now what's happening is parents are taking on debt. And I think a lot of them are going to live with that debt for the rest of their life.
And so this is something that we talk about, that we ask about, that we get upset about, for a long time. The idea that college has gotten so expensive. Can this price just continue to keep rising year after year?
Well, yes. People have been saying for a very long time, since 1980s, that colleges couldn't continue to raise their prices. This can't go on, and yet it has. And I think one of the reasons why it has is because students have a blank check. Colleges can set the price wherever they want, and if students want to go there, basically Congress gives them a blank check. And increasingly, again, students and their parents are taking on more and more debt in order to go to college. So as long as there's that blank check out there, I think prices are going to continue to rise.
And explain for us why debt from graduate school can be a particular concern.
Right. So graduate school is really where you have a blank check. So students face a limit on how much they can borrow. Parents can pick up the slack. A lot of time, parents aren't willing to do that, although more and more are. Grad school, if you're a grad student, again, you can borrow whatever the school charges. And one of the things that schools are doing right now is they are trying to get more students to enroll, particularly after this pandemic. So they're coming up with new programs, grad programs, to get students to enroll. A lot of times these programs pay off, but they don't always. And so this is where you end up with a lot of times $100,000 in debt, $150,000. Students assume it's going to pay off, and then they find out in some cases that it does not.
And because of the way that these loan programs work, colleges and universities get their tuition payments whether or not the students are able to repay their loans. Do you think that anything would change at all if the schools actually had more skin in the game when it came to student debt?
Yes, I think that schools have taken advantage of this hopefulness among students. This one professor called it a cruel optimism of students, where they come in and they think college is the ticket to a really secure, high-paying lifestyle. And schools have taken advantage of that. And I think the reason why they've been able to, my book shows, is because they don't have to put up their own money. When a student gives them a student loan check, their student loan money, the school keeps that regardless if the student actually repays those loans. And so I think what we're seeing right now, a consensus among both political parties, that if you want to fix some of these problems, both parties seem to agree you have to have schools suffer consequences if students fail to repay their loans.
And you suggest in your book that colleges and graduate programs often aren't worth the explosive cost. So what should young people consider when deciding whether or not to take the plunge and take on all of this debt?
Well, the one good thing that's happened in recent years is there is more data that the education department is putting out there to look at which programs do pay off and which programs don't. And so there is more information. Just do your research before you enter into these programs and see whether the school you're going to, whether the program you're going to actually has good outcomes from the student's perspective.
Josh Mitchell, we thank you so much. The Debt Trap, How Student Loans Became a National Catastrophe. It comes out on August 3rd and is now available for pre-order.
Great, thanks.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.